Most men over 60 have no idea that a seemingly harmless habit, morning masturbation, could be quietly harming their circulation, straining their heart, and even dulling brain function. And the truth is, many have been doing it the wrong way for decades. I'm Dr. James Ellison, a professor of urology and men's health at Baylor College of Medicine. For over 30 years, I've studied how sexual habits impact aging men and helped thousands reclaim their vitality. What I've found may surprise you. It's not the act of masturbation itself that's dangerous. It's the timing, the method, and the frequency, especially in the morning, when the body is at its most fragile. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the 4 critical mistakes that many men over 60 make during morning masturbation and how each one can quietly sabotage your circulation, heart health, and energy levels. But I won't stop there. I'll also give you practical science-backed solutions that you can apply immediately. And by the end, I'll reveal one surprising ritual, just a 30-second change in your morning routine that can help reverse years of circulatory damage and restore your sexual confidence. Before we dive into the mistakes, you need to understand this. After the age of 60, your circulatory system becomes far more fragile. The elasticity of your blood vessels decreases. Blood pressure rises. Your heart works harder. Even small disruptions in blood flow, especially around your pelvic region, can trigger fatigue, numbness, erectile dysfunction, or even lead to stroke risk. And morning, that's when your body is under the highest vascular stress. Your blood pressure spikes as soon as you wake up. Your nervous system is shifting from rest mode to alert mode. That's a fragile window, and it's the worst time to put strain on your circulatory and sexual systems if done improperly. Mistake 1. Masturbating immediately upon waking before hydrating or moving. I've spoken to hundreds of men over 60, and this is by far one of the most common and most misunderstood mistakes I see. It seems so harmless. You wake up, you're already aroused, and without even thinking, you go straight into self-stimulation. No water, no stretching, no preparation. It feels natural. But that automatic morning habit might be slowly undermining your health in ways you don't even notice. Here's what most men don't realize. When you first wake up, your body is in a delicate state. Overnight, you've lost water through breathing and perspiration, leaving your blood thicker and your circulation sluggish. Your blood pressure is already on the rise as your body transitions out of its rest phase. And in that exact moment when your cardiovascular system is under stress, many men put additional strain on their bodies by masturbating. I want to be clear. This isn't about shame or saying masturbation is wrong. Far from it. As a urologist, I support healthy sexual expression at every age. But timing matters, especially after 60. When you stimulate yourself immediately upon waking, you force thickened blood through constricted vessels to some of the most sensitive and vulnerable parts of your body, the penis, the heart, and the brain. That sudden demand for blood flow can lead to temporary dizziness, low energy, even blurred vision in some men. Over time, repeated strain like this may contribute to nerve damage, microclotting, and reduced blood flow where you need it most. I remember one patient, a 66-year-old retired teacher, who told me he felt off every morning. Lightheaded, tired, weak.
He thought it was just aging. But after we talked through his habits, it turned out he had a daily routine of early morning masturbation before drinking a drop of water or even sitting up in bed. When we changed that simple pattern, adding hydration, a few minutes of movement, and delaying stimulation, his energy improved within a week. It wasn't age, it was circulation. And yet, most men have no idea. They've done it this way their whole lives, not knowing the rules change after 60. Your body is no longer as forgiving as it once was. What once felt like harmless release could now be silently wearing you down. So, if this sounds like you, don't panic.
You don't need to give up the habit. Just respect your body's rhythms. Drink water, get up, stretch, let your blood move, then when the time is right, enjoy it without risking your health. But what if the very position you're in while masturbating is actually blocking your blood flow even further? That's what we'll explore next, and it's a mistake even more dangerous than this one. If you're still here and this is resonating with you, just type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're following along. Now, let's dive into the second mistake that most men over 60 don't even realize they're making. Mistake 2. Lying flat on your back while masturbating.
This one hits close to home for many of my older patients, and frankly, I used to overlook it myself. It seems innocent enough. You're in bed feeling relaxed, and you decide to masturbate while lying on your back. Maybe you've done it that way for most of your life. It feels comfortable, private, natural. But as we get older, what once worked smoothly can start quietly working against us. Here's what's really happening. When you lie flat and stimulate yourself, blood flow to and from the pelvic area becomes restricted. Your veins, especially those responsible for returning blood from your lower body to your heart, don't function as efficiently in this position. This is especially true after 60, when our veins naturally lose elasticity and the valves become weaker. The result is what we call venous pooling, where blood stagnates in the pelvis rather than circulating properly. Now add arousal into the mix. You're increasing blood demand to your genitals, but your position is choking off the return flow. The pelvic region becomes congested. The pressure builds, and over time, this can lead to symptoms that men often misread. Numbness, tingling, weaker erections, dull groin aches, even problems urinating. One of my patients, a 71-year-old Vietnam veteran, told me he felt like everything down there was getting slower. He blamed age, of course, but when I asked him how he usually masturbated, he described lying down flat, no support, no movement. We made a simple adjustment, changing his posture, elevating his hips slightly, and within weeks, his sensation returned and the heaviness faded. What makes this mistake so frustrating is that almost no one talks about it. It's one of the most common habits among older men, and yet they have no idea it's working against their circulation. It's not about doing less, it's about doing it smarter. A small change in position can mean the difference between healthy blood flow and long-term dysfunction. Sit up. Support your back. Use gravity in your favor. You might be surprised how much of a difference it makes, not just in the moment, but in your overall energy and responsiveness throughout the day. And if lying down is silently sabotaging your blood flow, just imagine what happens when you add too much pressure with your hands. That's the next mistake, and it's more damaging than most men ever realize. Mistake 3. Using excessive grip or pressure. This one is personal for many men I've treated, and I say that with a heavy heart because most of them had no idea they were doing anything wrong. I've sat across from men in their 60s and 70s who've looked me straight in the eye and said, "Doc, I just don't feel the same down there anymore." They weren't talking about emotions. They were talking about sensation, about touch, about how what used to bring pleasure now feels muted, dull, or sometimes nothing at all. And when we dig deeper into their habits, a troubling pattern emerges. Years, even decades of using excessive grip during masturbation. Many men think they need to compensate for reduced sensitivity with more pressure. So they squeeze harder, they speed up, they apply force. And in doing so, they slowly condition their bodies to respond only to that level of stimulation. It becomes what some have called the death grip. I don't use that term lightly. It's not about being dramatic. It's about naming a real and growing problem. Over time, excessive grip can lead to micro damage in the penile tissue, break down sensitive nerve endings, and even cause long-term vascular strain. Some men develop Peyronie's disease, where scar tissue builds up and causes curvature or pain. Others just lose the ability to feel much of anything during intimacy, creating frustration, not only for them, but for their partners too. And the saddest part, most of these men were just trying to feel something. not knowing they were doing the exact thing that would make feeling harder and harder over time. I remember one man in particular, 64 years old, recently divorced, trying to reconnect with his own body after a difficult emotional chapter. He admitted that for years he used an aggressive, almost mechanical routine. When I explained what was happening physiologically, how nerves and vessels were reacting to that pressure, he was stunned. Not ashamed, not embarrassed, just stunned that no one had ever told him. We adjusted his technique, slowed it down, introduced more mindfulness, lighter touch, and patience. Within a month, he said it was like he was reconnecting with sensations he thought were gone for good. So, if you've noticed less sensitivity, don't assume it's just getting old. Your body might be trying to protect itself from a habit it was never designed to handle. Gentle stimulation can restore connection and pleasure when it's given the chance. But even if your technique is perfect, there's one last mistake many older men make, and it happens after the act is over. And believe it or not, it might be the most dangerous of all. If you're still reading and these insights are making a difference for you, drop a number 1 in the comments so I know you're with me. Now let's keep going and take a closer look at mistake number 4. Mistake 4. Ignoring the aftermath. No cool down or circulatory recovery. This is the one almost no one talks about. And yet, it might be the most silently damaging mistake of them all. Not because of what you do during masturbation, but because of what you don't do after. I've seen this again and again in older patients, men who wake up, masturbate quickly, and then simply lie back or drift off, assuming the act is over and done with. But what they don't realize is that the body doesn't treat it that way. For men over 60, every change in blood flow, every rise and drop in pressure matters more than ever. After orgasm, your body shifts into a parasympathetic state. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops. Your body enters recovery, and if you don't support that recovery with movement, hydration, or circulation-focused habits, your blood can start to pool, especially in the lower regions. I've had patients describe feeling wiped out after what used to be a quick, energizing release, dizziness, fatigue, even mild nausea. They thought it was just age, but the truth, it was poor circulation. I remember one man, 68 years old, who told me he avoided all sexual activity in the morning because it left him feeling off for the rest of the day. He was convinced it was his heart. We ran tests. His heart was fine. But what wasn't fine was his post-orgasm routine. He would finish, then lie back for another 30 minutes, dehydrated, immobile, and unaware that his body was begging for help rebalancing. Once we added a simple cool down, deep breathing, some light stretching, a glass of water, his symptoms vanished. He told me, "I thought I had to give it all up. I didn't realize I just had to do it smarter." The sad reality is that too many older men suffer in silence, not realizing their fatigue or lightheadedness is linked to the way they finish, not just how they begin. The good news is it's fixable. With just a few thoughtful actions, you can support your body, protect your heart, and actually feel better after sexual release, not worse. But what if I told you that there's one small addition to your morning routine, just 30 seconds long, that could help undo years of circulatory stress and completely change how you feel for the rest of the day? Let me show you what that looks like. The 30-second morning ritual that restores circulation. Sometimes the most powerful changes don't require hours of effort. They just require intention. Over the years, I've watched men chase complex solutions for fatigue, poor circulation, and low energy, when in reality, what they needed was something far simpler, one small act done consistently. And this is where the 30-second morning ritual comes in, a practice that has changed the lives of many of my older patients in ways they never expected. It started with a man named Walter, 72 years old. He came to me frustrated, not with illness, but with a lack of clarity, low energy in the mornings, and what he described as a heavy fog that never quite lifted. He told me that he still felt alive inside, still wanted to enjoy intimacy, but something always felt blocked physically and mentally. After learning about his habits, I introduced him to a simple change. A short posture practiced right after waking or after sexual activity that supports circulation in the most natural way possible. Here's what I taught him and what I now recommend to nearly every man over 60. Surrey. Lie flat on your back with your legs up against a wall or elevated on a chair or headboard. Let your arms rest at your sides. Breathe deeply. Stay like this for just 30 seconds. That's it. It's known in yoga as legs up the wall pose, but this isn't about flexibility or fitness. It's about giving your heart a break and allowing gravity to help your blood return from your legs and pelvis back to your core and brain. This one shift helps reduce pooling, eases the strain on aging veins, and rebalances the nervous system after arousal. Walter called me a month later and said, "It's like someone turned the lights back on." He had more energy, less grogginess, more control over how he started his day, and how he ended those private moments that mattered so much to his self-esteem. Sahar. If you've never tried it, I encourage you to give it a shot tomorrow morning. 30 seconds. No effort, just stillness and breath. The impact it can have on circulation, energy, and clarity is far greater than most expect. But even more important than this ritual is understanding what it all adds up to and why these small changes matter more now than ever. Let's bring it all together in a way that speaks to your health, your strength, and the years still ahead of you. Conclusion. If there's one thing I've learned after more than 3 decades working with men over 60, it's this. The body doesn't stop needing care just because we've gotten older. In fact, it needs more. More intention, more understanding, more respect. And yet, many men walk through these years thinking they're just supposed to accept the slow fade. Less energy, less sensitivity, less vitality, as if that's just part of the deal. But it doesn't have to be. We've talked about 4 critical mistakes, all centered around something deeply personal. Your sexual health, your morning routine, and how the two interact in ways that most people never think about. Masturbating. The moment you wake up without hydration or movement puts strain on a circulatory system already working harder than it did in your younger days. Lying flat during the act disrupts blood flow and weakens pelvic health over time. Using too much pressure dulls the nerves and can desensitize you to pleasure in ways that feel isolating. And skipping the recovery afterward, ignoring what your body needs to restore itself, can leave you tired, foggy, and unknowingly draining your energy day after day. I don't bring these things up to scare you. I bring them up because I've seen what happens when men don't know, when they silently suffer, thinking it's just age, or worse, that it's something they should feel ashamed of. And I've also seen what happens when those same men learn the truth, make small changes, and start to feel their strength return. There's no shame in wanting to feel alive. There's wisdom in learning how to protect that feeling. You don't need to overhaul your life to make this work. Sometimes it's as simple as waiting a few extra minutes after waking, shifting the way you position your body, softening your touch, or lifting your legs against the wall for 30 seconds. These aren't grand gestures, but they matter because they send a message to your body that you're listening, that you're still here, still invested, still alive. You've come this far for a reason. You care about your health, your independence, your dignity. And that tells me something powerful. You're not finished. Your best years can still be ahead, not behind. So let this be your reminder. You're never too old to feel strong again. You're never too far gone to reclaim your energy, and you're never alone in the process. If this spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and drop a comment below. Someone your age might really need to hear this too.